Dirty cops instantly killed in jail. Who do we turn to when those tasked with our protection fail to uphold justice and subject us to the cruelty and terrors they endured? Only you can provide an answer to that. This is the tale of 3 corrupt police officers who were promptly killed in jail as they paid the price for their crimes. These officers were thought to be protectors of people and property, but they chose to be on the wrong side of history. Instead, they were attacked and killed, completely ruining their careers and lives. Theodore Dyer. Susan, name withheld, and her 9-year-old daughter moved into a Grand Haven apartment in Ottawa County in April 2012, but they had no idea that the man next door was evil personified, former Muskegon County Airport police officer Theodore Dyer. Dyer was also well into his 60s and in a stable relationship at the time, so Susan couldn't have asked for a better neighbor. Being next-door neighbors meant that Susan and Dyer would constantly run into each other and have conversations, but their relationship wasn't limited to their daily banter. Dyer eventually became a member of her small family during an interview with local news. Since the day they moved in, Susan and I had daily conversations. He and his girlfriend never had children, so I guess they adopted my kids. Sadly, Susan had this to say about the former police officer. The trusted relationship Susan developed with Dyer meant her 9-year-old daughter spent a lot of time over at his apartment, especially when Susan had to work. However, Susan's perfect little world was about to be thrown into complete disarray in a way that she could have never imagined in a million years. On one fateful evening in June 2013, Susan's daughter had gone to Dyer's apartment. As per usual, it had gotten pretty late, so Susan decided to go over there to bring her home. You can call it a mother's instinct. But for some reason, Susan decided not to knock on Dyer's apartment door, and instead she walked in quietly. Inside the apartment felt eerily awkward, and the fact that her daughter was nowhere in sight. When she walked in, quickly aroused suspicions from Susan. The concerned mother was drawn to Dyer's room by some faint sound, and when she peeped through a crack in the door, what she saw nearly made her lose her footing. She saw a Dyer sexually assaulting her 9-year-old daughter. While recounting the sordid experience, I asked Susan whether what I saw him doing was actually what she thought it was, and she answered, predictably, that I threw the door open, grabbed her, and went back up to our apartment. Susan phoned 911 right away, and Dyer was taken into custody for his heinous actions. When Dyer was found guilty of first-degree criminal sexual assault against a minor in December 2013, the judge sentenced him to 25 to 50 years in prison, with the possibility that he would die there due to his advanced age. Susan's daughter later confirmed to detectives that this was the 3rd time the disgraced police officer would be doing that to her. The former police officer's life tragically ended in prison far sooner than anyone could have predicted. Dyer started serving his sentence in January 2014 at the Saginaw Correctional Facility. It is well known that most convicted former police officers are met with hostility from their fellow inmates. However, Dyer's crime made him an easy target for the inmates who were disgusted by his act of criminality. Although the Saginaw Correctional Facility held some of the most notorious criminals in Michigan, including killers, sexually assaulting a 9-year-old girl was considered taboo by the majority of inmates. Unfortunately for Dyer, this was also the opinion of his cellmate Stephen Anderson, a man serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole for killing his girlfriend in 1991. The 9-year-old victim's mother was among those who were somewhat relieved by Dyer's tragic ending. Although Susan claimed she never wanted to see anyone die, she couldn't help but be happy for her daughter, so I think it was a relief for her knowing that this wasn't going to happen again. On October 29, 2014, 10 months into Dyer's prison sentence, his cellmate Anderson snapped and killed the former police officer while they were inside their cell. After a brief Michigan State Police investigation on February 23, 2015, Sanderson appeared before Chief Circuit Judge Fred L. Borchard in a Saginaw County Circuit Court and entered a guilty plea to second-degree murder to a convict in prison. Inside the court, Sanderson was a picture of composure and displayed no remorse for taking Dyer's life when his attorney James Gust asked him if he had killed Theodore Dyer. Sanderson had admitted to detectives that he had killed Dyer. Stephen Sanderson gave a positive response, saying, "Oh, sure, yes." Later in the hearing, the judge requested Sanderson to explain to the court how he had killed Theodore Dyer, the convicted murderer. Sanderson kindly gave the court an explanation of the events leading up to Dyer's horrific death. When Sanderson revealed that Dyer was incarcerated for a particularly serious instance of child rape, he was unable to contain his contempt for the disgraced police officer. Sanderson continued to describe how Dyer had irritated him on that fateful night by attempting to defend why he had sexually assaulted a small girl, but when Dyer wouldn't stop talking, he killed him. Sanderson claimed that he killed Dyer when he knocked, hitting him until he passed out, at which point he took the shoelaces out of his shoes, tied them together, wrapped them around his neck, and strangled him. After that, he strangled him. Sanderson acknowledged that he was aware of what he was doing, even though he continued to maintain that he had no regrets for killing Dyer. In addition, Sanderson offered some final remarks to those who had chastised him in the months preceding that moment. "I want to be very clear that I did not judge him," he said. "I know that God is the only judge we have. I've just set the appointment until I don't feel bad for what I did." Sanderson repeated that he had no regrets about killing Dyer, but he did express sympathy for the family of his victim, saying, "I don't feel bad for what I did. I feel bad for maybe his family or something, but as far as remorse towards him, no." Dyer's relatives were present at the court and listened to everything Sanderson had to say, but they chose not to speak to the judge or Saginaw News after the sentencing. Stephen Sanderson, the convicted killer, was given the maximum sentence of life imprisonment with the possibility of parole by Judge Fred L. Borchard. As a result, the Michigan Department of Corrections personnel moved Sanderson to a higher custody setting, where he is currently serving his 2 life sentences at the Ionia Correctional Facility at the highest security level. Gerard John Schaefer: "If you believe Theodore Dyer to be a heinous criminal, then police, after all, you might end up pulling your hair and chewing your fingernails." John Schaefer: "You watch the captivating tale of Gerard in contrast to Dyer. John Schaefer was a predatory serial killer who enjoyed preying on young women and teenage girls." Schaefer, sometimes referred to as the Butcher of Blind Creek, the Killer Cop, and the Hangman, was found guilty in 1972 of killing and disfiguring 2 adolescent girls in Port St. Lucie, Florida. It is thought that he is also accountable for the deaths of up to 26 additional female victims. Because Schaefer was a sheriff's deputy in Martin County, Florida, when he was first arrested in 1972, he earned the nickname Killer Cop. His horrifying habit of placing a hangman's noose around the necks of his female prisoners and securing them to trees before cruelly torturing and killing them earned him the nickname the Hangman. Even though it sounds unbelievable, Schaefer's evil behavior continued after his victims passed away. He would often perform various unholy acts on their corpses, such as cannibalism, necrophilia, and body part dismemberment. Although the specifics of Schaefer's killing spree are unclear, the Killer Cop's reign of terror in Florida is thought to have lasted for more than 5 years, but the drama and media frenzy that followed his arrest lasted much longer. If you've watched this far, please share your thoughts in the comments box below for more fascinating subjects. Thank you for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos.